So for turn 2, we roll for initiative. So the Brits get a 6. The Germans, they get a 9. So this time the Germans win the initiative. What that means is that the British have to move one of their ships first, then the Graf Spee will move, and then the final 2 British ships will move. So the Brits are going to move, it doesn't make that much difference, but we'll move the Exeter first. And the Exeter is basically going to just try to close the range down. The British ships are pretty much straightforward what they're going to do. So if we come down on the Exeter, there's the Exeter. So the Exeter gets to move 6 inches. And then we go over to the Graf Spee. So the Graf Spee is going to try to keep that range between the British ships and itself, which, let's just see if we can get the British into the shot. They're up there. Unfortunately, that's what's happened when we get the 2. It's jumping between the 2, so I'm going to bring the range back, the camera back down onto this spade itself. And she's going to turn away, not going to do any fancy manoeuvres. So first of all, we've got to move ahead 2 inches. And then we're going to make a normal turn. Again, you don't really need to keep putting this template on. I'm just doing this to illustrate how it's done. So you put it on the midpoint, turn the maximum, can move another 2. And she's still got 2 inches left to move. So remembering that she wants to go off the edge eventually, turn it to there. That will mean she'll probably only have 1 turret firing, but I still think that's a better option. So 2 to there. So that means that Ajax and Achilles are going to carry on their charge forward. So they're going to move 6 inches forwards. Won't bother mentioning that, I'll just move it relatively the same. So that what we've got now is the distance hopefully closing a little bit when we go on to the firing phase. So since the Germans won the initiative, it's their turn to fire first. And they're going to split their fire this time. The 4 turret, the A turret, can't fire at all. It's facing completely the wrong direction. It's facing off over here, so that's the wrong way, it can't fire. The Y turret is going to fire at the Exeter, over there, in that direction. And the light guns on the port side are going to fire at the lead British ship here. They can't all fire, and the reason for that is that the light guns only have a 180 degree arc of fire. So you basically put a line on like that, and you'll see that the cruisers are out of the arc of fire for one side. So only half of them will be able to fire. That's the restrictive keyword. I'll zoom back in because it gets the focus goes potty otherwise. So that's what the Graf Spee is going to fire, and you have to declare the firing before you actually start rolling. So the actual rolling for the Graf Spee, this is for the Y turret. The Y turret, if you remember, gets 3 attack dice. So that's 3 dice there. That's interesting. I think they've all missed. She needed a 4. It's long range at that, so that makes it a 5 -1. So she needed 5s or 6s to hit, so the wide turret has completely missed the Exeter. The small light guns, they get a total of 6 dice, which you halve because of the restrictive keyword. So she gets 3 dice, 3 on each side of the ship basically, and they are extreme range, so they are going to need 6s to hit. 4s normally, -2 for extreme range. No other modifiers apply. Much better there from the Germans' point of view. They get 2 hits. Now, when the light guns hit, they do damage 1 dice each, so they're going to get 1 dice each. The armour of the British cruiser is a 3+, but the light guns have a -1 AP, armour piercing, which means that instead of needing 3+, it goes up by 1, so they need a 4+. But then they're doing plunging fire, because they're at extreme range, which takes it back down to a 4+. So a 4+ will cause a hit. And nope, both of those have missed. So the German fire, very ineffective for that phase, that turn. So now it's the turn of the British to return fire. It doesn't really matter what order this goes in, because all 3 ships will get to fire. So the Achilles, which is the closest ship to the camera, is going to fire first. She's at extreme range. She's in by 1/4 of an inch, which means that she gets both A and B turret to fire. A turret and B turret have got 1 dice each, and at that range they're going to need to roll a 6 to hit. Normally it's a 4, and then you get -2 for extreme range. So we've got to roll these, and she's got 1 hit. She's also got a rule called twin linked, which means that any misses from these guns can roll again. So we can roll this dice again. It's still only 1 hit. So she's got 1 hit. Achilles and Ajax both do 1 damage dice each, so that's 1 dice. Normally it would be a 3+ to damage the Graf Spee. She's got an armour of 3, but the Achilles has got a -1 AP, which means that it goes up by 1, so she needs to roll a 4 or higher, if I could say that, to cause a damage. And she's rolled a 1, so she's not actually caused any damage. The Ajax next to her is ever so slightly further back, and he's actually out of range. And that just leaves the Exeter here. There's the Graf Spee in the distance. So the Exeter is going to just use her 2 forward turrets. These are going to be firing at extreme range, I'm pretty sure. So that means that they'll get 2 dice each, and they're going to need to be hitting on 6s. She doesn't get that bonus for hitting on the side because the Graf Spee is turned, so she needs to roll 6s on 4 dice, and hasn't got any hits at all. So not much results of gunnery on that phase. So we go now to the end phase, and in the end phase the only ship that's got any damage at the moment is Exeter. So Exeter rolls to see whether she can repair. 4+4 for her crew. She needs to get 8 or higher, so she's still not repaired those damaged guns. And that's the end of turn 2.